Super Mario 3D World, Animal Crossing Wild World, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and Hey You Pikachu. What is one thing each and every one of these Nintendo games has in common? Well, they all finished development and were released onto the market for kids and adults alike to pick up and play. Yes, all of them. Dear Pikachu, help us all. But the fact is, not every game that gets announced has a happy ending. For one reason or another, they get a visit from the evil cancellation. There are various reasons for why a developer or publisher is forced to close shop on any specific game, and we do have numerous adventures on file that never saw the light of day. These projects could range from mere concepts on a piece of paper to fully developed games. None are safe from the deadly eye of cancellation. They could suffer from conflicting visions within a studio on where a game should go, a lack of funding, time constraints, or simply the game is just a hunk of junk. Some of those do fall through the cracks though. One of the most well-known cancellations from the Nintendo spectrum includes Star Fox 2 on the Super Nintendo. This is a case of a game that was fully completed, yet cancelled because of the imminent release of the Nintendo 64 at the time. Yep, they dropped the ball on that one. Little did they know they could have released Star Fox 2 and still had a year and a half before the N64 would hit the market. Oh well. But Star Fox 2 is a case that a lot of gamers are well aware of, so I wanted to do something a bit more interesting and highlight 5 cancelled Nintendo games or Nintendo licensed games that are a bit more obscure that you may not have known of. I for one had never heard of any of the games on this list before making this video, so hopefully the same will be true for you as well. So without further ado, let's take a walk down memory lane and take a peek at some Nintendo or Nintendo licensed games that could have been. Number 5. Kirby is a super tough pink puff? Psh, more like super tough baby puff. No, seriously, Sakurai's little piece of bubblegum was literally a baby puff in a cancelled Super Nintendo game fittingly called Kid Kirby. Look at that squiggly hair appendage. What you probably weren't expecting is that HAL Laboratories, the studio that has made nearly every single Kirby game in existence, wasn't the brains behind it. Rather, it was the Scottish company DMA Design Limited. Now, you may be thinking, who in all of Dreamland is that? Well, they might be a bit more familiar if I refer to them by their most current name. Rockstar North. Yes, the team behind the famous Grand Theft Auto series worked on a Kirby game. Oh, the irony. The first hint we received of Kid Kirby being in the works was way back in 1995 in the bottom right hand corner of page 47 in the Mexican Club Nintendo magazine. Nevertheless, with the game starring a younger version of the oh-so-lovable Puffball, it was meant to act as a prequel to the Kirby series. Not a whole lot is known about Kid Kirby though, but from the little bit people have been able to salvage, we do know that it was meant to be a project to promote the ill-fated Super Nintendo mouse, which like many Nintendo peripherals didn't blow up, figuratively speaking. So, with the mouse being a failure, it didn't make much sense to release it as a Super Nintendo mouse compatible game, so the other option was to use the tried and true D-pad, but the game just wasn't designed with that in mind, so it didn't transition well. Because of that, Kid Kirby met an untimely death and was thrown into a garbage dump, figuratively speaking. As far as I'm aware, we haven't had a Kirby game since that focuses on him being a baby, so maybe this is something that Nintendo could revisit in a future title. Just don't touch his Elvis hair. Number 4. Super Mario World is heralded as one of the best 2D Mario platformers out there, alongside Super Mario Bros. 3, and some may even argue that it is indeed the cream of the crop. But believe it or not, we almost got a sequel of sorts. No, not Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. Before that, a follow-up game called Super Mario's Wacky Worlds was indeed put into development around the year 1992 for everyone's favorite Philips CDI system. Yes, the CDI that gave birth to the infamous trio of Zelda games that Nintendo shot into the far corners of the universe and never speak of again. Bye-bye. Rather than having Mario's adventure take place in the Mushroom Kingdom or some other fantasy-like locale like Subcon, Wacky Worlds would take place in more real-world settings. Along with the familiar caves, swamps, castles, and haunted houses, Mario would also get to platform his way through Greek, Egyptian, and Aztec environments. You've got Bozo the Play-Doh Koopa, a giant Trojan horse, Pharaoh Koopa, Pirates of the Caribbean, and what in Davy Jones' locker is this? I think this guy's face down here sums it up quite well. Mario's sprite is ripped straight from Super Mario World, and they slapped it against the more realistic looking backgrounds, which are actually hand-drawn by the developers. While an early prototype of Wacky Worlds did receive positive feedback from Nintendo, the developer Nova Logic was forced to cancel the game because of the declining sales of the CDI. About 80% of the art, 95% of its design, and about 30% of the game's coding was finished finished before it kicked the bucket in 1993 after about a year of development. All we have now are a few prototypes of the game that are in circulation, but it's also been leaked online in ISO form and can be played through an emulator or through a burnt CDI disc. Maybe they could have polished this baby up to make it a masterpiece, but if the Zelda CDI games or Hotel Mario were any indication,
my boy,
I kinda doubt it. Number 3! As I previously mentioned, there were a trio of Zelda games for the CDI, but as a matter of fact, there were also a trio of Mario games planned for the system. Interestingly enough, one of them did get an official release, that being Hotel Mario, which in this day and age is regarded as one of the worst video games of all time, and is the subject of some YouTube poopies.
I hope she made lots of spaghetti.
Of course, there was also the aforementioned Super Mario's Wacky Worlds, but the last CDI Mario game that didn't see the light of day was Mario Takes America, which was in development from 1992 to 1994 by Saigon Entertainment. Yes, I don't know who that is either. But as the name of the game suggests, the adventure would have had Mario going through various locations in America. He would start off by arriving in New York and then go through a bunch of shenanigans so that he can reach Hollywood to star in his own movie. Oh dear me. Oh no, please stop, no! This was actually a super ambitious game because they weren't just drawing these environments on a computer. No, the gameplay had a 2D sprite of Mario, like the one from the cartoon, superimposed over full motion video footage from the different real world locations. The concept of the game could have been likened to the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which also had two-dimensional hand-drawn characters interacting with the real world. Yes, the devs had to go on an adventure themselves to capture all this footage, and there was a great variety of places that Mario would travel through. It was planned for the Plumpy Plumber to make his way through a car factory in Detroit, the Carlsbad Caverns, a space shuttle in Florida, Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, okay maybe not that one, Fort Knox, the Louisiana Bayou, and several other places. So what in the world happened with Mario Takes America? Well, the idea turned out to be a bit too ambitious, because the full motion backgrounds demanded a lot from the technical capabilities of the CDI. Philips was also not impressed with how it was shaping up, and in conjunction with the abysmal sales of the CDI system itself, it turned out to be the nail in the coffin. Philips ultimately cut funding to the game, so without any money to back them up, the developer Sygam canceled the project and they unfortunately went bankrupt in 1994, and thus Mario never did take America. Number 2! The Donkey Kong family is quite the ensemble of teachers. After the original Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. came out for the NES, DK Jr. went to star in his own educational video game in 1983 called Donkey Kong Jr. Math, which, not surprisingly, helped players hone their basic mathematics skills. But if you didn't know, there was actually a second educational Donkey Kong game that was in development for the NES, called Donkey Kong no Ongaku Asobi, or as it's known in English, Donkey Kong's Fun with Music. The only indication we got of the game's existence was from an announcement in a Japanese gaming magazine back in 1983. From the little bit we know about the game, there appear to be two different modes, Music Quiz and Donkey Band. Music Quiz actually supported up to 2 players, and you had to make the Nintendo characters play the specific notes on screen. I don't know how it was supposed to work though, like was it a rhythm game similar to Guitar Hero where you had to hit the keys at just the right time, or was it something a bit more shallow? The screenshots do show a timer, so maybe you had to hit the keys as fast as possible, who knows? But one of the songs shown in the screenshots is actually I've Been Working on the Railroad, so yeah, we're not talking about a game blasting chiptune songs from AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, or the Beebs.
I've been working on the railroad all the livelong days.
As for the other mode though, Donkey Band, it's thought to be some sort of composition mode similar to the Music Maker in Mario Paint. The reason for the cancellation of Donkey Kong's Fun with Music is unknown, but a lack of funding was probably not one of the reasons, since it was being developed by the juggernaut known as Nintendo. It could have simply been that the game just wasn't fun. And I guess you could say the spirit of the game went to live on in Donkey Konga for the GameCube with those obnoxious bongos. Number 1! Nintendo has toyed with various different gameplay ideas throughout the years to add new life to the medium. We've seen the one-to-one sword combat in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, the touchscreen controls of the Kirby and the Canvas Curse spin-offs, the gravity-defying platforming in Super Mario Galaxy, and so much more. But 14 years ago at E3 2001, Nintendo accidentally leaked 3 secret games on their online release list. These 3 games included the well-known and polarizing Super Mario Sunshine, 128 Marios, whose ideas were used to conceive the lovely Pikmin series and even Super Mario Galaxy, but the third game is one most people might not know about. Well, I at least didn't know about it. If you did, Here's a cookie. But the third game was Marionette. Huh? No, not Marionette, Marionette, as in a puppet who's manipulated from above by strings attached to his jointed limbs. Think Pinocchio before he became a real boy, and not Ultron,
who's got no strings on him.
Yes, Nintendo, or more specifically Shigeru Miyamoto, was toying around with the gameplay idea on the Nintendo 64, and eventually the GameCube, where players would take the reins of a marionette character and manipulate its movements. The game never really got far outside of its concept stage, so we have zero images of what the game looked like. We just have super vague details from the father of Mario himself. Since Marionette has the word Mario in it, one would likely assume it would star Nintendo's biggest mascot, but Miyamoto specifically said that it wasn't a Mario game. When revealing to Nintendo Dream that the game was cancelled, Miyamoto did say that they were preserving the story elements of the game in case they release something like it in the future. As far as I'm aware, they haven't done that yet, but I guess it's better late than never, as they always say. Marionette seems like it would have been a perfect match for the Wii, since the motion controls of the Wii remote could have simulated the T-bar that manipulates the puppet, but of course, that never happened. Unless something drastic happens, Marionette will forever be a figment of Miyamoto's imagination. So there you have it, folks. Those are 5 Nintendo or Nintendo licensed games that kicked the bucket before hitting store shelves. Hopefully they were all games that you were unaware of until seeing this dang video, and now you have some fun trivia to impress your friends with, or the ladies. I have also declared this video as my 10,000 subscriber special, because if you take a gander at the sub counter, you can see that I have hit the big milestone. It's been a super long and grueling journey getting to this point, starting from 0 and making my way to the big 10000. I couldn't have got here if it wasn't for you fine folks watching me and sticking with me over the weeks, months, and even years. So I thank you guys and gals. It's super awesome knowing people actually like watching me make a fool of myself. So again, spank you one and all, and let's keep it going. And that will bring us to the end of this video. If you like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up and add your favorites and all that good stuff. And you can stay tuned for more videos in the future. But I will talk to you later in the next video, guys. Bye!